Welcome to the moment the world thought would never come. Welcome to the reckoning, the revival, the revelation. Welcome to the storm after the silence, the rise after the ruin, the justice that took its time. You have waited long enough in the dark corners, buried under the weight of doubt, drowned in ridicule, and smothered by the noise of every voice that dared to tell you that you were wrong. But now, listen closely. They found it. They finally found the evidence, the signs, the proof, the truth. And it was everything you said it would be. You weren't imagining it. You weren't lost. You weren't overthinking or overreaching. You were always ahead, always seeing something they couldn't. And now, they know. You carried the truth when no one else could even see the path. You stood alone while the world laughed behind curtains of ignorance. They called you dramatic, paranoid, delusional. But now their mouths are closed, their laughter is quiet, and all that remains is the sound of realization crashing down on their pride like thunder. You endured every storm they hurled at you, and you didn't break. You stayed rooted, not because it was easy, but because something deep inside whispered that you were not crazy. And now, that whisper has become a roar. They didn't believe you because they couldn't handle the weight of your vision, because what you saw scared them, because you were willing to look deeper while they stayed on the surface, clinging to comfort, to conformity, to the illusion that they knew best. But you never wanted their approval. You weren't chasing applause. You were chasing what was right. You were built for more than fitting in. You were made to be true, even when the truth made you a target. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about what happens when time finally bends toward justice. When the ignored are finally heard, when the misunderstood finally get the silence they deserved, not because they gave up, but because the world finally caught up. For years you were treated like an echo in a void, but the echo never stopped. It kept repeating, even when no one listened. Until today, until now. Until they looked where you pointed and saw what you saw, and they can't unsee it. Now they don't know how to face you. They're scrambling, rewriting their narratives, desperate to pretend they were always on your side. But the truth doesn't forget. It remembers every dismissal, every whisper behind your back, every smirk. It remembers the way they looked at you like you were speaking a foreign language, when all you were doing was telling the future. Now, the only foreign thing is their silence, the silence of people who finally realized they were wrong about you. They thought your ideas were too big, your warnings were too loud, your beliefs too wild. But now that the dust has settled, they realize you weren't extreme, you were early, you weren't emotional, you were intuitive, and you weren't overthinking, you were underestimated. They finally found the proof, and it leads right back to you, to the words you said, the steps you took, the sacrifices you made, the hours you spent alone, trying to piece together a puzzle no one else even saw. They owe you, not just apologies, but answers, not just credit, but action, not just reward, but recognition, because you held the truth when it was heaviest, because you walked through fire while they stood in safety, because you dared to be different when it was dangerous. And now, they want to honor you. Now they want to elevate you. Now they won't rest until the reward fits the journey. But let's be clear, this reward was never the goal. You didn't do this to be celebrated. You did it because you couldn't not do it. You did it because your soul wouldn't let you stay quiet. Because something inside you burned with a vision the world wasn't ready for. But that didn't stop you. You carried the weight. You endured the cost. You kept going, even when the road disappeared beneath your feet. And now the road is rebuilding, brick by brick, behind your footsteps. They are walking the path you carved through resistance. The reward they want to give you now is only a shadow of what you already earned. You earned your voice back. You earned your name back. You earned the power that comes from never bending, never folding, never letting go of what you knew was right. You earn the silence that will fall across every room you walk into now, not because they want to ignore you, but because they know they should have listened. You don't need their praise. You already have something greater, the proof, the truth, the undeniable evidence that you were never imagining it, that you were right. And while they slept comfortably in ignorance, you stayed awake in the dark, holding on to that candle, guarding the flame, watching everything unfold exactly as you predicted. You weren't just a witness, you were a warning. And they didn't listen. Now they do. And with this truth comes power, not the power to dominate, but the power to lead, the power to heal what was broken in you by years of rejection, the power to speak with clarity because you've earned every word, the power to move through the world without shame because your path was never a mistake. It was a map only you could read until now. Now they want that map. Now they want to know how you knew, how you saw, how you survived. You survived because you were never looking for validation. You were following purpose. And purpose will always outlast popularity. Now, the very people who mocked you are building monuments to your words, quoting what you said, repeating what they once dismissed. You've become the reference point, the moment in time where the tide turned, and they know it, they feel it, and they're not resting until the reward matches the story. So let them reward you, let them come to you, but never forget the silence that came before the praise. Never forget the nights you walked alone. Never forget that this moment didn't arrive out of luck. It arrived because you endured when they wouldn't. You believed when they couldn't. You stood when it would have been easier to run. And now that they've found the proof, they are running to you. But you walk. You move forward with calm, with gravity, because you've already won. You won the day you refused to give up, the day you spoke even when your voice shook, the day you stood firm when everything tried to push you down. That was the victory. This is just the echo. The reward is loud, but the truth was always louder. They found it. They found the truth. They found the evidence. They found you. Not the version they imagined, not the version they labeled, but the real you. And it terrified them, because they never thought you'd last long enough to be proven right. But here you are, not just surviving, but rising. Not just correct, but chosen. This is your time. Not for revenge, not for gloating, but for transformation. For becoming the force they tried to stop. For embodying everything they said was impossible. You are no longer the outcast. You are the blueprint. You are no longer the warning. You are the example. They finally found the proof you were right. And now they will not rest, not sleep, not breathe easy until the world gives you what you're due. And even then, they'll still wonder how you saw it before everyone else. They found it. You were never crazy. You were correct. And now, the world is finally catching up. And now that the truth is out there, now that the light has shattered every shadow that held your name in the dark, they look to you differently. There's fear in their admiration, not because you hold power over them, but because you represent something they ran from. Responsibility, clarity, courage. You stood tall while they shrank behind comfort. You asked questions that demanded uncomfortable answers. And now that the answers are visible for all to see, no one dares to question you the same way again. The silence around your name is no longer mockery. It is respect, born from regret. And they feel it, deep in their conscience. Every time your words echo back through time, proving themselves truer with each passing moment. But you don't have time to linger in, "I told you so." You don't need to drag anyone through guilt or shame. You've outgrown the noise. You've transcended the need to convince anyone anymore. Because now, the truth speaks for you. The evidence walks ahead of you, clearing the path, commanding attention, shifting the air in every room you enter. Where there was once resistance, there is now recognition. Where there was once laughter, there is now silence. And where there was once dismissal, there is now demand for your insight, your experience, your voice. But let's not pretend this road was paved for you. It wasn't. It was rough, jagged, punishing. And you took every step anyway. You stumbled. You bled. You questioned yourself more times than they ever could have, but you never gave in, because something inside you refused to die. Something inside you was louder than the doubt, fiercer than the rejection, more permanent than the denial. You had vision, and vision is a lonely gift. It isolates before it illuminates, and that isolation tried to break you, but it couldn't, because you were already forged in silence. You were built in battle, and when the truth came, it didn't surprise you, it confirmed you. The world now spins differently because of what you held onto. They found proof you were right, and with that proof comes responsibility. Not just for them, but for you. Now you carry more than memory. You carry movement. You are not just the one who was proven right. You are the one they will now follow. Whether you asked for it or not, the spotlight has turned, not just to your victory, but to your direction. They want to know what you see next, what you hear beneath the noise, what truth still lingers, waiting to be revealed. Because once is not a fluke. Once is not luck. Once is legacy. But understand this, you don't owe them ease. You don't owe them softness. You owe the truth its full power, no matter how heavy it feels to speak it. Because the same strength that brought you here will carry you forward. You don't need to water down your fire for their comfort anymore. You don't need to dilute your vision to be more digestible. You walked through too much to become small now. They found the proof, they found you. And you have no obligation to shrink for those who refuse to grow with you. And yet, still, you lead with purpose, not pride. Because this story isn't only about you. It's about everyone who's still walking in silence. Everyone who holds a truth they're afraid to speak. Everyone who's been told they're too much, too intense, too different, too soon. You are not just a moment. You are a mirror. And in your reflection, others will find the courage to trust what they see. You are a symbol of what happens when someone refuses to let go of what matters, even when the world tries to strip it away. They can reward you with gold, with praise, with platforms. And they will. But the real reward was forged in the moments no one saw. The nights you sat with your thoughts and still chose to believe. The hours you wanted to quit but took one more step. The endless questions you asked yourself and the quiet answer that always came back, keep going. That was the real victory, the kind they'll never understand, because the proof they found was not just in the facts, it was in your endurance. Your resilience was the greatest truth of all. Now they watch and they wait, not for you to fall, but for you to lead. And that is the greatest shift of all. You were once the warning. Now you are the way forward. And every eye that doubted you will now be watching, not with ridicule, but reverence. And you didn't demand that. You earned it, not by screaming louder, but by standing stronger. And now, the world won't rest, because they need your voice, your insight, your light. But never forget, this moment doesn't end here, because there are more battles ahead, new truths waiting in the shadows, and you are not done. This isn't the conclusion, it's the coronation. You have proven yourself, and now the weight you carried becomes your weapon. The silence you survived becomes your strength. The proof they found becomes the fuel that drives you to everything you were meant to become. You are not crazy. You were never broken. You were chosen to see what others couldn't. And now that they see it too, they will move mountains to walk beside you, to claim what you already conquered. Let them, but don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't soften the edges that carried you here. Stay sharp. Stay true. Because if they finally found proof you were right, they haven't even begun to discover how much. You are not the same person who was ignored. You are the voice that echoes through every corner they tried to hide truth in. And now that the world has awakened to what you already knew, they will not rest, not stop, not pause, until everything you gave is honored in full. Let that fuel you, let it steady you, and let it remind you, you were never waiting for permission. You were waiting for the world to catch up. Now it has, and you are already ahead, again. The moment when they finally found proof you were right isn't just a checkpoint, it's a battlefield claimed. The war you fought in silence has now entered the light, and every bruise you carried becomes a badge of honor. You were painted as the outlier, the troublemaker, the one chasing ghosts. But ghosts have a way of becoming reality when no one else is brave enough to see them. You didn't just survive the storm, you became it. And now they watch, scrambling to catch up to a force that has long been moving ahead without them. The proof they found is like a cracked mirror reflecting the world's failure to listen. It exposes their ignorance, their fear, their unwillingness to face hard truths. But it also reflects your unyielding resolve. You held on to a vision that felt too heavy for the world to bear. You believed in something that was invisible to others, but clear as day to you. And that belief was your armor. It shielded you from the poison of doubt and the cold bite of rejection. You carried it quietly, but it burned fiercely inside you. And now, it ignites everything around you. They will try to reward you, yes. They will offer recognition like a bandage over old wounds. But you know that no reward can replace the years of being unheard. No applause can erase the nights spent questioning your sanity. No spotlight can undo the loneliness of standing firm when everyone else backed down. And that's the truth you carry with you now. The scars of being right before the world was ready. The weight of knowing you were always ahead, but never celebrated until the moment the world finally caught up. The reward they bring is not the end. It is the beginning of a new challenge. Because once you have proven yourself, once the world has acknowledged your vision, the stakes rise. The expectations grow. The eyes that once ignored you will now dissect your every move. The voices that once silenced you will now scrutinize your every word. This is no longer about survival. It is about legacy, about leading with clarity and strength through a world that now depends on your insight. But here's the secret they won't tell you. The power is already yours. The recognition is a shadow of the truth that lives inside you. You have already claimed victory the moment you refused to bend, the moment you kept your vision alive despite the weight, the moment you looked into the abyss and did not blink. That is power no reward can give, and no proof can take away. They found the evidence, yes, but the truth was never theirs to grant. It was always yours to hold. Now, with the world finally looking your way, you must decide who you want to be. Will you become the leader shaped by the battles you fought? Or will you become the echo of their expectations? Will you rise on the wings of your own courage? Or will you let their newfound admiration cage you in their narrative? This moment is yours, but it carries a choice. To step forward as the unstoppable force you always were, or to shrink into the role they finally assigned you. You are not just a symbol of being right. You are a beacon of perseverance, a monument to the power of refusing to give up when everyone else says you should. And now that they found the proof, they will not rest until they honor what you endured. But remember, their honor is not the end goal. Your journey never depended on their acceptance. It depended on your ability to see beyond the noise, to trust what you knew was true, even when everything around you screamed otherwise. The reward they chase is a reflection of their guilt, their need to make amends, their desire to finally set things right. But the reward you carry is the unshakable certainty of your own truth, the strength forged in silence, the wisdom earned through isolation, the clarity born from pain. These are the treasures no one can take from you. These are the forces that will carry you beyond the moment of recognition into the forever of impact. They found it. They found the proof. But you already hold the power. The recognition is a gateway, not a finish line. And on the other side lies the work you were born to do, the work of reshaping a world that tried to break you, the work of leading those who still walk in silence, the work of turning your story into a legacy that will outlast their doubts and fears. So stand tall, stand steady. The world is watching, but you are not performing. You are leading. You are the living proof that truth cannot be silenced forever, that vision cannot be hidden in the dark, that the human spirit, when fueled by conviction, can outlast the strongest storms. They found the proof you were right, but you already knew it. And now it is time to show them what being right truly means. This is your moment, not just to be rewarded, but to become unstoppable. Not just to be heard, but to be the voice that changes everything. Because when they found the proof, they didn't just find evidence, they found the future. And the future is yours. And now, here you stand. The proof lies in their hands. But the truth, the real truth, has always lived in your chest. It beat quietly while they shouted. It endured while they denied. And now, it roars. You don't need their permission anymore. You don't even need their apology. Because this moment is not about them. It's about what happens after you were right. It's about what you do now that the world is listening. Because this was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving yourself right. And you did. You walked through the fire and came out made of it. They tried to put out your voice, but it burned too brightly. Now, they rush to you with praise they once withheld, trying to rewrite their place in your story. But you know the truth. They never built you. Their rejection sharpened you. Their silence tested you. Their disbelief shaped you into something they can't explain, but now need. And still, you don't gloat. You rise, not in anger, but in power. Let them build statues. Let them write stories. Let them award medals and raise their hands in delayed applause. You don't need it. You are already walking in something far, far greater. The weightless freedom of being undeniably right. And even now, even with the whole world behind you, you are not done. Because what they just discovered is what you've always known. Your vision wasn't just true, it was necessary. So go, not as the one who was doubted, but as the one who endured. Go, not to ladies and gentlemen, warriors of the midnight hours, guardians of your own forgotten vows. Welcome into the uncharted hallways of your soul, where echoes of reckoning whisper in the dark. Tonight, you have stepped into a gathering not of comfort, but of confrontation. For the rumors that drift through the city alleys and shadowed corridors speak of you in hushed tones. They swear you made a deal with death, 'cause you're still breathing. Yes, they claim you bartered everything, shook a hand you cannot see, and yet here you stand. You might ask, did you? And the thumbnail above asks the same. You made a deal, didn't you? Silence greets that question, but inside you, the answer can't help but rise. Tonight I'll speak to that. I'll speak to that deal, that rumor, that truth hidden beneath the city's gossip. I'll speak to you. When they say you made a deal with death, they mean you skirted the edge of the abyss, that you looked into the void, and the void looked back, and still you exhaled. They believe you reached out, touched the black underbelly of life's underpass and said, I'll live anyway. They whisper you accepted a burden so heavy, so potent, that mere survival would be your trophy, and every breath a defiance. They whisper you know something they don't yet dare to acknowledge. But what if that deal with death wasn't a contract signed in blood under a midnight sky? What if instead it was a vow, a secret oath you made to yourself under your own watchful soul? A vow that you would keep walking even when the pavement cracked beneath you. A vow that you would keep breathing even when the air tasted like ash. Consider this. Every time you drew that breath against the odds, you rewrote the rumor. Every time you stood when you were meant to fall, you shattered a lie about what deals we make and what debts we owe. The gossip says death claimed you already, but you're alive. That alone is your answer, so listen closely. Because in the darkest chambers of the universe, your vibration matters. In the spaces where hope is just a single flicker, your heartbeat replies to the abyss. You didn't bow, you didn't yield. You kept walking while everyone else paused to watch. That's the deal they're talking about, not with death, but with you. What I want you to feel in these moments is the raw weight of that claim. They swear you made a deal with death, because living is rare when most expect you to fold. They didn't see the nights you lay awake, the times you heard your own pulse like a distant rifle, the moments you pressed your back to the wall and told yourself, not tonight. In this place tonight, we embrace what everyone else dismisses. We bring to light the contract you signed. It's not written on parchment, not sealed by a sinister handshake. It's carved in muscle memory and imprints of pain. It's inked in the hours when the moon held you up and the darkness asked, "Do you still believe?" And you answered, "Yes." Turning toward that deal, let me emphasize something. The streets that spread your legend, they don't understand the terms. They define it as a pact with death because they fear what you survived. They reduce your survival to a spectacle. But you know that deal is far deeper than mere living. It's about becoming. Because surviving is just the beginning. Surviving is the spark. But you went beyond. You stepped into flame and made it your ally. When the city says you're still breathing because you made a deal, it's almost as if they concede you cheated the reaper. But really you embraced your own mortality and turned it into motion. Your breath is the rising count of every time you refuse the silent request to stop. Why do they gossip? Because they're looking for answers to their own dread. When someone refuses to fold, when someone is still breathing though the forecast promise ruin, that spectacle unsettles them. They whisper so they don't have to mirror your endurance. They whisper because what you carry makes them ask, if they survived, then what's my excuse? So you become a symbol. Not because you wanted it, but because you lived it. You carried the weight day after day when no one was watching. You took the punches, made the decisions, sometimes walked through fire just to test if the flame would forge you stronger or consume you. It didn't consume you. You're still standing. This speech isn't about burying your scars. It's about elevating them. Each scar is a signature of that secret deal, a mark that you refuse to be erased. If you're breathing now, it means you honored that deal, that you showed up for yourself, even when everyone else left the room, that you said you would not trade away your story for the safety of anonymity. You refused the unconscious surrender. You accepted the chaos and made it your training ground. So, lean into that. Lean into the darkness you passed through and let it fuel you. Let the city's gossip be the fuel, because what they say is a reflection of your power, not your weakness.